Okay, folks, I think we can get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first of this two-part webinar series on the face of Google Cloud in 2017. Full disclosure, right up front, got about a pound of pollen in my throat, so if I all of a sudden go quiet for a minute, it's because I'm having a coughing fit, so I'll just put it on mute so you won't have to hear me. My name is Paul Ball, and I've been selling Google products for the better part of about a decade. I've enjoyed some pretty big wins with my coworkers at Tempus Nova. We became a Google partner in 2008 and a premier partner in 2009. So it means we've been around for a while and we've been able to watch this ecosystem grow and evolve and really excited to be part of it. Right, so what are we going to talk about today? Right? What do we know about Google? We know about search. We know about YouTube. By the way, a little tidbit I learned the other day, 7 hours of video are uploaded every minute to YouTube. We know about Gmail. Everyone's got an account. We know about Google Maps, right? They photograph pretty much every square inch of inhabitable Earth. And they've got driverless cars. So they do a ton of stuff out there. But what do they do, or what are they going to do in 2017 for the enterprise? So let's get to today's agenda. All right, I'm going to start by just spending a few minutes going over Tempus Nova. I promise today's webinar, my goal is to be 20 minutes, right? Get in, share with you some really cool stuff, and be finished with the webinar before you're finished eating your sandwich at lunch or late lunch, if you will. And that way we'll get you to come back to more of them because you know we'll spend 20 quick minutes getting to some good stuff. I'm going to talk about Tempus Nova for a few minutes. Then I'm going to turn it over to Mark Hall from Google. He's going to give us some insights on what they're doing this year and kind of what the vision is for the organization. He's going to toss it back over to me. I'm going to talk about G Suite for a little bit, talk about the SKUs, talk about the promos, and then wrap it up. So let's go to the next page and let's talk just a little bit about Tempus Nova. As I mentioned, Tempus Nova has been a Google partner since 2008. We've been a premier partner since 2009. We're headquartered in Denver, but have a couple of offices throughout the country. To be honest, most of our, especially our G Suite implementations, are done remote. It allows us to keep costs down, work more effectively. But I do know that customers like knowing that there's a familiar face in the region. So we've got a couple of offices spread throughout the Southeast and Southwest. As a Google Premier Partner, we have all the accreditations and qualifications and past performances that you would expect from a Premier Partner. We've got Google Certified Deployment Specialists. We've got Google Certified Trainers. All of our senior PMs are PMP certified, and we're licensed to sell not just G Suite, but Chromebooks and Maps. So anything you need to know about in the Google ecosystem, I think we're very well suited to be able to help you. Based on our past, we've also got IBM and Microsoft partnerships. So we understand where you are today, and we know how to help you get to where you want to go tomorrow. All right, so with that, I'm excited to turn this over on to Mark Hall. He's been a Google account executive for several years. I believe he's located back in the Southeast now. So for some of you on today's call, he's probably your account manager. So don't be surprised if you hear from him relatively soon after today's call. Mr. Hall, over to you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you, Paul. Really appreciate it. Hello, everyone. As Paul mentioned, my name is Mark Hall. I am located in the great city of Atlanta, Georgia. My role is as a territory manager within Google Cloud, helping organizations learn a little bit more about how they can take advantage of our cloud products to help their businesses operate more effectively. Definitely excited to see so many companies from different parts of the Southeast joining the webinar. So thank you all. Today, I just want to give you a little insight into what we've been working on over here within Google Cloud. I know, as Paul mentioned, most of you guys probably think of Google in terms of our search products or one of our other products that are used by over 1 billion people, but we're actually much more than that. So Google has evolved into an organization that not only cares about its end users, but also the businesses that relies on its platforms. This is really where Google Cloud comes in. So I do want to spend a few minutes just highlighting not only what Google Cloud is all about, but the mission objectives, some of the products we cover, and some of the pillars. So we'll jump to the next slide, and I can kind of set the stage for what we're looking for. So when we talk about Google Cloud, really our objective is to leverage the best parts of Google to help organizations work more productively, collaborate more effectively, and manage their data more securely. The products that we cover within this broad umbrella includes what's known as our Google G Suite, formerly known as Google Apps for Work, which Paul is going to dive a little deeper into in a few moments. It also encompasses our Google Cloud Platform, which is our computing, data storage, and networking product. It includes Google Chrome, Maps, among others. So there's a number of products within the Google Cloud umbrella that I spend a lot of time working with organizations to understand and figure out. Excited to highlight one of those with you guys today. When we talk about the 4 pillars, it's pretty simple. We want to make sure that we're helping organizations unlock the value of the data that they have, identify those best places where we can deliver some of these modernized applications and take advantage of some of the things that we're moving into. Obviously, build on a future-proof foundation so that you're not living in an old archaic environment and you're taking advantage of everything that organizations like Google have developed, both internally and externally. And finally, to bring the best parts of Google available to you. So that's a big component. So as we transition, I think it's important to give some context as to who's behind Google Cloud and some of the leadership members that are help driving some of this really innovative change. So really at the forefront is Diane Greene, who's the leader of Google Cloud. Diane has a really long history within the technology space. She actually was the co-founder and former CEO of VMware, as well as being a member of the Google Board of Directors. In addition, she has a deep background in cloud computing, and one of the things that we recognize within the Google Cloud umbrella is that it's important to help people realize how much cloud can help them revolutionize the way you work and live. And from our perspective, there's no person better suited to help do that. On your screen, you're seeing a few of the public highlights that she's received and accolades based on her background and experience, and we're definitely excited to have her. I think what's important to highlight here is that under her leadership, we've seen significant changes that's going to drive some great innovation. So when we talk about the organization as a whole, product teams, infrastructure teams, and sales teams are all under the same umbrella, and that allows for faster innovation and a better overall customer experience. So when we talk about being one point of contact in the South among many peers that I have in the Atlanta office, it's important to understand that I work closely with our product managers, our infrastructure teams, and our support teams to help give you guys the best experience possible. So, finally, the last topic I want to cover is just the fact that we're working hard to deliver a lot of value to organizations like yours. So, a lot has changed within Google over the last roughly 8 to 10 years. We've invested significantly in this environment to the tune of probably tens of billions of dollars to create infrastructure, create a product suite, and a customer engagement process that's going to help businesses like yours at least explore how to improve the way you guys collaborate, communicate, and leverage the data in your environment. The most recent sign that I can point to in terms of product innovation that we've seen would be really our newly announced enterprise SKU. So I know Paul in a minute is going to talk about our G Suite option, but it's important to highlight that with this enterprise SKU, we brought to market a lot of innovative features and advanced functionality and enhanced security settings that organizations have been demanding from the market, and we're proud to be one of the few organizations that have actually delivered that effectively. So with that said, hopefully that was a decent context as to what Google Cloud is, what our leadership sees as an opportunity in the market, and some background as to who I am as well. Paul, I'll pass it over to you, and would love to see you dive a little deeper into the G Suite platform.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mark. So I think it's just a perfect segue back, right? Because Gmail, for those that don't know, Gmail was just an internal project at Google. Several years ago, I guess 10, 15 years ago now, they had, maybe it was a SunMail system. They had some sort of email system over there. And as part of a small project that was outside of somebody's core competency, they came up with Gmail. And so Gmail was created by Google for Google. Google employees. And then they started, if you remember way back when, you got in invitation only. So it just grew organically to now 1 billion users. I think it's 1 billion active monthly users, right? So maybe even more than that as far as accounts that have been registered, but you've got 1 billion users out there. All right, so what does that say to me? That says to me that Google innovative, Google scalable, right, and highly available. One of the cool stories, one of the great phrases I ever heard was, Google is the dial tone for the internet. If you're on Disney.com and it's taking a second to load and you're impatient, what do? You pop open another tab, you go to Google.com, and then you see if the page loads up. If it doesn't load up, then you reboot your computer, then you check your router, then you see if lightning has hit your house. But until then, Google.com is the dial tone for the internet. I think that's the greatest testimony to their high availability. Their SLA is 99.99. Right. So as we talk about G Suite, talk about being able to grow. So I also want to talk about being able to grow as a value. So as we go to the next slide, we're going to take a look at what G Suite was, or Google Apps was, I guess, called back then in 2010. At that point, Google Apps, $50 per user per year. You've got your admin console with your administrative capabilities. You've got mail, calendar, contacts, groups, chat. You've got sites, and then you've got the collaboration tools at the bottom that allow concurrent multi-user document sharing, working on files together, right? That's the piece you've got here. That was fantastic in 2010. That was $50 per user per year. Great offering. You go to the next slide, you now look at what Google is in 2015 or 2016 at the same cost. There's one item on here under administration called Vault, which was an additional cost. Other than that, everything here 5 years later is for the same cost. A couple of things I'd like to point out from the administration side: mobile device management. Right? If you're a smaller organization, or quite frankly, a large organization, you want to have MDM, you want to be able to remote control or wipe iOS or Android devices. It's now built into Control Panel with G Suite. You've now got Hangouts if you go under storage and collaboration, video chat. Drive, which is kind of like Box, Dropbox. It's basically a file storage sync client. And then the coolest one is bottom row, fourth from the right, edit Office files. So if you have an end user who's got a device that does not have Microsoft Office loaded on it, they get an email from somebody that's Microsoft Word. They can view it natively in their inbox. They can save it to Drive. They can open it in Drive, and then they can either convert it to a Google Doc and share it with others and collaborate, or they can actually edit it natively and save it back as a .doc document and email it back to the person, send it to them. So when you start talking about the cost savings and not having to put a full Microsoft Office suite on every single desktop, you start to add up to quite a significant savings. Right? At the very top in small print, you can see all the certifications: FedRAMP, FERPA, ISO 27001, all the way across the board. So Google continues to become more and more secure. You've got now encryption in motion and at rest. I think years ago it was only at rest. So they just keep making the suite better and better value at the same price for the basic SKU. So if we go to the next slide, now we look at G Suite Business, or for a while it was called Google Apps Unlimited. Basically, the Vault thing that I pointed out in the last slide, which is your e-discovery and your archiving solution, is now rolled up into that SKU. You have unlimited storage instead of 30 gigabytes, and it's $120 per user per year. Still a phenomenal value. The G Suite has to be, they've got to bring great value, because they're going against an incumbent that's been entrenched in the market for 20 years, right? So they've got to continue delivering more and more. All right, so as we go to the next slide, here's the pricing, right? So we talked about $5 per user per year for basic business with the unlimited storage, $10 per user per year. And then earlier this year, I think probably in the last 45 days, Google announced the enterprise SKU. $25 per user per year. It's got everything with basic, everything with business. And then on top of that, it's got a higher level of encryption, greater granular control by the admins over your environment. I believe that when you registered, or I'm sorry, when you logged into the webinar today, you should have immediately gotten a handout in your inbox that goes through the comparison of all three documents. I'd rather have you look at it at your leisure than kind of read to you on a webinar. Of course, if you've got questions, you can reach out to me or Mark. We'd be happy to schedule time kind of and talk through the differences and what you can get with each one. So I think today we've talked a little bit about Tempus Nova. Mark has given you some insight on Google, the cloud, the vision, right? But now you learned a little bit more about the SKUs. But what does that do for you today, right? How has your time been worthwhile? Well, so let's go to the next slide and let's talk a little bit about a promo that Google is running that is going to enable you to evaluate and adopt G Suite, right? So perhaps you've recently signed an EA, and as we all know, those EAs, they're handcuffs. Once you sign an EA, oh, I'm sorry, I've just signed one 6 months ago for 3 years, you're locked in. So if you do become aware, right, like by joining a webinar, you do become aware of a product out there that you want to, to give a test drive, or you want to evaluate it, you want to look at the features, it sounds interesting to you, it sounds compelling, the EA locks you in and you feel like financially you can't justify doing anything. You've got 3 years, if you've got 3-year EA and 2.5 years are left, right now Google is running a promo. If you've got more than 300 300 employees in your organization, they'll give you G Suite licenses for free, right? So let's just talk a little bit about G Suite. I want to go backwards a little bit, or at least go younger a little bit. Right now, there are 50 million students worldwide on Google Apps for Education. 77 of the top 100 higher ed institutions in North America are on Google Apps for Education. So there's an army of kids that are coming out that do not care about being on Outlook. They do not care about being on a specific product. They want to be able to use their device anytime, anywhere, whether it's a Chrome device, whether it's a Mac, it doesn't matter. They want that type of flexibility, right? So you need to be aware, or at least you should be aware or be educated of the kind of what tools the kids are using as they're coming out of college, because those are the kids, especially the top talent, that you want to attract to your workforce. Another thing is I'll tell you, a lot of deals we closed because an IT director came to us and said, I've got 9 people in marketing that use personal Gmail accounts to collaborate on documents. And then once they're done, they copy and paste it into a Word document, and then they stick it on SharePoint because that's what they're supposed to do. So shadow IT drive a lot of deals to Google because the end users, the consumers, or the IT department's customers are saying, we like this product better. So it's just something to be aware of, to see, are there people in my company in a shadow IT environment that are using free Google accounts to share company intellectual property in the public cloud. So let's then go to the next step, or I'm sorry, the next slide, and make this promo even more compelling. You've got more than 300 users in your company. You also get a $25 voucher per user, so credit. So that's $7,500 towards your deployment. So not only do you not have to pay for G Suite licenses until your EA is over, but you also get a minimum of $7,500 towards your deployment to help ease the burden of justifying, right, the move. I promise you, once we get an ROI calculator and we start looking at the lower amount of time your administrators are having to manage inboxes, because Google is so much easier to manage, we can quickly make up the difference, right? So we can quickly help you justify why moving to G Suite is a worthwhile exercise. At the very least, it's worth evaluating. All right, so I think let's go to the next slide, because I think we are ready to wrap things up. As I promised, 20 minutes on the nose. Valerie, Valerie's going to spin the wheel. She's going to pick a winner, and it's going to be winner, winner, chicken dinner, right? While she's spinning that wheel, I want to talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing over the next few weeks. We want to do a similar webinar for Google, for GCP, and we want to be able to talk about cloud computing and all the components of Google Cloud Platform, whether it's App Engine or SQL or storage, and be able to kind of dive into those areas a little bit. So if you found today's webinar worthwhile and you've got some folks maybe that are a little bit on the nerdier side that want to join the next webinar, we would love to have them. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Once we get the resources lined up, whether it's Valerie or Lisa or Haley or Kimberly or whoever it was that was harassing you to join us today, they will reach out with some more information. We'd love feedback on the webinar if you would like to share it. And so back to you, Valerie, to wrap things up. And thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thank you, Paul. As Paul mentioned, my name is Valerie Garber, and I'm part of the Tempus Nova team. I wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. We do have a winner, and the winner of our raffle is Mike Dar. So congratulations, Mike. I will be sending an email shortly, so be on the lookout for that. Again, on behalf of Google and the Tempus Nova team, we thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to having you join the second part of this webinar. Have a great day, everyone.